Welcome to the Christian Romance Podcast, where we go behind the books with inspiring Christian romance authors, exploring faith, love, and the journey that brings the story to life. I'm your host, Kelly Jo Wilson, and today we're chatting with Donna Wichelman. Donna is a historical romance author who blends faith, intrigue, and redemption in her stories. With a background in journalism and a passion for history and travel, Donna draws inspiration from real-world places and events. Her latest release, A Song of Deliverance, is a Gilded Age romance set between Ireland and Colorado. She lives in Colorado with her husband, where they serve in their church and enjoy time with family and the outdoors. Be sure to stay tuned to the end of the episode so you can hear more about our newest book giveaway for this month. Now, here's my conversation with Donna. Hi, Donna. I am so happy to have you on the Christian Romance Podcast today. Thank you so much for being here.
Well, Kelly, thank you so much for having me. I'm very excited to talk with you and to tell my listeners or your listeners a little bit more about what a song of deliverance is all about.
Oh, yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And I can't wait to hear more about your story. You've been around the world. You have all these experiences. I cannot wait to hear about your writing journey and what your faith looked like in that journey. So why don't you tell me and the listeners a little bit more about yourself and how you got started on this journey, on this path?
I have been writing since I was a young girl. I mean, I'm the proverbial, write for the school newspaper as an elementary school student. So I've been writing all my life, and so I ended up going to an international high school in Wales, Great Britain, where I studied English literature at a higher level. And it was an extremely fun time, but it also introduced me to writing the classics or reading the classics. And so it was at that point in time that I thought, I think I really do want to be a writer. I want to be an author, and so it kind of that journey meandered a little bit in different ways, but eventually it led to me writing my first full manuscript in the mid 90s. And it did go to committee at Bethany House, believe it or not. But they ended up rejecting it with a bunch of suggestions of, how I could fix it. And unfortunately, life happened, and I didn't follow through on that. So it took a number of years before I actually indie published, and then now have a traditional publishing contract with Scribner's Press.
Yeah, that's difficult because whenever you send it, a lot of times with your first manuscript, it's helpful sometimes to get the feedback, right? Because you haven't really had the feedback yet whenever it's brand new. But the rejection is tough because you're like, I just want to do this. Help me. I don't know, I don't know what I'm doing. But I think every single person I've talked to, every single author has had some level of that rejection, whether it was, the manuscript itself, or it just wasn't time. They liked it, but it wasn't a good fit at the moment, those kind of things. So I think, especially whenever you are co-creating with God and you're writing these like Christian influenced stories, I feel like God always works things together for good in his timing too. Right. So I love that you stayed with it. And, like you said, life happens. It's tough especially whenever you have kids and you have a family, you're trying to do all this. So yeah, it's very difficult to stay on track and just keep doing it because you're not getting immediate feedback right away.
Yeah, exactly.
Sometimes you don't get it at all until you're done. And then it's like, oh my goodness, if I would have known before, you know what I mean? Like, it's crazy. So now with that first one that you sent to Bethany House, did you eventually revisit it? Did you eventually take a look, or is it stuffed in a drawer somewhere?
I'm not sure it will ever see the light of day, because I've grown so much as a writer, as an author. My writing is so far superior to what it was back in the mid 1990s, and so it part of me would like to revisit it, but I have so many other stories I want to write that I don't know if this one will ever really make it to the presses or not.
Oh, that's so funny. So now you are so today we're going to be talking about A Song of Deliverance. So I can't wait to hear more about it because I know in the past so you had the a little bit more formal training, probably more than we've seen like you said about the writing, the English literature and things like that. What was that like being in the like the international school? How was that? It does sound fun.
Oh, it was fun. Actually, I don't know if you know the International Baccalaureate degree, people, the IB program.
Oh.
It's here in the United States now, but United World College of the Atlantic was the first one of the United World Colleges, and so it was at the time it was in. I'm gonna give away my age now, but it was the 1970s when I went to school there, and the International Baccalaureate had just been created in order to give students from all over the world the opportunity to take an international exam instead of their own country exams. And so we studied very hard. It was very rigorous in that way. You know, it for a lot of people when they came home from college or from Atlantic College when they came back to the United States, they could skip almost a semester of university level because it was that rigorous. Um,
Oh, wow.
yeah. So, but on the other hand, we had an absolutely fun time just enjoying one another and studying together and doing antics together. Um, you know, you, you can't, young people were vulnerable and do all kinds of things we're not supposed to do. But anyway,
Oh, I'm sure. But that would be a neat experience. I feel like I've always loved to write as well, even like since I was young. So I feel like I would have loved that as well, like to try to get into something like that. It's very cool. And then you also like you talked a little bit about I saw that you said in Song of Deliverance was kind of inspired
mhm,
by a trip
yeah.
that you took. Now, was this your 40th anniversary trip or was this a different trip?
Yeah, this was different. So
Okay.
my husband's an engineer. He used to work for Hewlett Packard. And
Oh.
while he was there in the 2000s, working at Hewlett Packard, he also worked with a team in Ireland. And so he made frequent trips over there. And I had the opportunity then to go with him several times and got to know the people there. They're just lovely. The Irish are lovely people. They're very friendly, especially with Americans. There's a legacy of Irish that came over to the United States, and you've got a lot of Irish, like John Kennedy, of course, and others. But so we got to know them very, very well. And we did two separate trips, especially with our daughter. And it was the second one in 2018 with her husband and her. And it was while we were standing on a crest overlooking the Atlantic Ocean
Hmm.
that I said, what if there was this Irish woman, poor Irish woman, who has no dowry. She has no money. She's grown up, just in the years past after the famine, and she is destined to emigrate to America just at the start of the Gilded Age, which was 1870s, and that's how it got it kind of that was its birth, and of course it had to be fleshed out after I got home. But it was just
That's
fun thinking
amazing.
about it.
Oh yeah. What's funny? I talked to Jen Dybel. She writes a lot of Irish books too, and she said that about the Irish as well. Like whenever they lived over there for a while and just very hospitable, extremely kind, like almost like so different. It was just like a slower pace than we see over here. Like
Hmm.
very much taking inventory of the present moment and just who is with them. She even said that, they were like, would almost get, it would almost be an insult if you like texted before coming over, if you had to stop over or something like that. Did you find that that's how they were too?
Oh yeah, they are always desirous of just having conversation like we're doing here. They love they love being together. Pubs are not just bars where you get, drink and get drunk. They're actually a place of social gathering. And
Mm.
that's where people gather. So we did that a few times with them as well. But yeah, they're just people who are excited about just getting to know you and sharing laughs with you.
Yeah, that's wonderful. It was it beautiful over there too. It looks like it would be absolutely gorgeous. Like especially the way you describe standing over, like overlooking the ocean, like have it like on this crest, like this hill,
Mm.
like that just sounds gorgeous. What part of the country were you in?
Well, on our trips, we actually were all over Ireland, but the
Mm,
book where the inspiration took place was on the Dingle Peninsula, which is
mm,
the west coast. And actually, it's the Dingle Peninsula has the furthest west peninsula of Ireland. So, um, yeah, it's quite remote, actually, but it is absolutely beautiful. And it does rain, and you do see the rainbows coming out. That's real. I mean, that's Ireland. uh,
oh.
and then it's very, very green, and yeah, lush and uh, beautiful.
Oh yeah, it definitely sounds like it. So why don't you talk a little bit then about A Song of Deliverance? Talk about your how so you got the inspiration for the place and essentially this young woman who is very poor and who doesn't have a dowry in this time that she would have needed that. So what's her name? Tell us more
Mhm.
about her.
Yeah, so her name is Anna Catherine O'Sullivan, which she decides pretty early on in the book that she's going to take the O off of the O'Sullivan, which makes it
Mm.
much easier for the rest of us actually to just say her name, Anna Sullivan. And so she is, because she is poor and her parents have now passed away. Her uncle and aunt are willing to bring her to America, and in fact, her aunt ends up passing away too of a heart attack
Mm.
ahead of time. So the uncle still wants her to come, and so that's a little bit of the backstory. Her uncle still wants her to come, and she does, and she expects to meet him at the stagecoach at the Barton House in Georgetown, Colorado. But when she gets there, unfortunately, there's a mining disaster at the Singing Silver Mine, and she realizes that that is the mine where her uncle works.
Mm.
So she begs a ride from a one of the owners of the Singing Silver Mine. She begs a ride up to the mine to find out what is happening, so that because she's worried that her uncle might have been involved in this disaster as well. And she does find out when she gets there, and it takes about 3 chapters before we find out that, in fact, he has been killed in the mining disaster. Well, she came over because she was destitute and orphaned already in Ireland, and now she discovers she's once again orphaned and destitute.
Mm.
But the good news is that there's a couple of people who embrace her, and between their desire to embrace her and her faith and courage, that she will make a life for herself in spite of the fact that she doesn't have her uncle there any as she had expected. She does embrace it, and she says, I will decide to have the faith and the courage to move forward in spite of the mining disaster.
Mm. Yeah, that's very tough. So it already sounds amazing. Who is the love interest? No spoilers.
Okay, so no, 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 of course not. But um, so there are two owners to the mine, co-owners, and the one that she begs a ride with is not the love interest; it's the other one.
Mm.
And but at the in the very first chapter, the very first page, um, he is riding in the stagecoach with her, but he looks like a derelict, and there's reasons behind the reason why he looks like a derelict. Um, and she thinks he's drunk. Well, he's not, but she thinks he is. And so her first impression of this of Stefan Meyer is that he's just this uh, dirty old derelict who's a prospector down on his luck. And, and then she finds out after she's been roaming the mining property, and this disaster has occurred. She discovers that in fact he is one of the mine's owners, and he is a very wealthy man of European nobility who's come to make his legacy in Colorado, and has this very prolific uh, mine called the Singing Silver Mine in Colorado. And but that all sets that up in that now she's upset that she's, why did you tell me who you were?
It sounds very much like a little bit of enemies
And
to lovers kind
enemies
of
to lovers.
situation.
Yes,
Yes,
exactly.
enemies to lovers. Um
Exactly.
yes, and I love those. I think that it is so fun because I'm such a big fan of the slower burn. Not that I'm like, turned off by the fact of or turned away by if they kiss like soon, fairly soon, as long as it's written well. There's all kind of different romance stories, but I know me personally, I really like this slow burn, and usually enemies and friends to more are kind of a slower burn. Would you say that it's like that a little bit because they have to get to know each other?
Yeah, they have to get to know each other. There are class differences between them. He's,
Mm-hmm.
it's kind of it's a little bit of a rags to riches story,
Oh yeah.
but I wanted it to be more than that. And so the themes that sort of meander through the book are um, class differences and what it means um, to have a relationship with someone who is in that day and age. They didn't intermingle. They didn't
Mm,
really intermingle, and she would have felt very uncomfortable, and in fact maybe even a little bit prejudiced against the upper class, especially at that time when England was really in possession of Ireland.
mm.
And so she has a little bit of a prejudice herself against the English who have overtaken Ireland. And so, yeah, I mean, she definitely has her issues with him.
Isn't it funny like how that was such a big thing is the class differences not that long ago,
Hmm.
right? It really wasn't that. I mean, it was like would you say about late 1800s or so whenever this was happening. So like even into the early 1900s.
Hmm.
I feel like it's so crazy to see that shift a little bit, especially in this country, but in other countries too, that it's not quite um, like that anymore. Well, I guess some countries might be like that still. Is it like that? I wonder if it's like that now. And I mean, Ireland wouldn't have that now. It would be
No,
different.
no,
Yeah, they
no,
don't have to worry about that now.
no, no. They went through their
But
own revolution back in the early 20th century. So,
yeah, but yeah, the class thing, I mean, that really would keep a lot of people apart. I mean, because you can't look like, especially with these kind of books, whenever you look for like, happily ever after and like even happy for now, it's very difficult. How would they be able to make it work unless, somebody's going to have to sacrifice something either way,
Mhm.
right? Like there's going to have to be some kind of sacrifice for this to move on, I feel like,
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah.
But no spoilers. Now I want to know. I have to know. Oh, it sounds amazing. I love it. So Stephen, I love that he was like pretending to be this. And I am very intrigued. I feel like I just absolutely need to know this. What was the research like while you were doing research about this? Was it difficult or was it like kind of fun considering you had been going back and forth to Ireland with your husband?
Yeah. So much of the research was for back, so I shouldn't say it that way. Um, some of the research was to develop the backstory. There had to be some backstory, like the Great Famine of Ireland, where her attitudes came from, that kind of
Hmm.
thing. Um, but then, because most of that story does take place in Colorado, I had to do the historical research on Colorado. So, for example, she gets there in 1872, but Colorado was still a territory. It didn't become a state until 1876.
Mm.
And it was really the mining industry that that brought people to Colorado, and it was that time where the Gilded Age really took off with the Industrial Revolution. And so that was the other part of the research, was then to understand the whole mining industry. I mean, that's pretty much how Colorado got its start. And so to even begin to understand, well, what could have caused the mining disaster? I had to read a lot of material to figure out, okay, what would cause nine men to die in the belly of the earth. Um, and so, it took a little bit to develop that, and even a little bit of imagination to work it through, so that it felt plausible, that something like that could have happened.
Oh yeah, for sure. I feel like especially with historical romances like this, you would have to spend ample time on the history because it's a little different, and you tell me if this is what happened with you or how you write. Once you have everything together, it's different. It feels like you could maybe get into that flow a little better once you at least have an idea whether or not you like to outline or whether you're not you're a discovery writer. I feel like at least once you have that general idea from the research, that it would be much easier to flow. Is that what it's like for you?
Yeah, I don't ever imagine that I could be a fantasy writer. I can't do that kind of world building, but
Oh yeah.
but yeah, right?
Oh yeah, for sure. It's amazing the world building they do. I have a lot of friends who are fantasy writers, and my goodness, the world and the art. I'm like, I wish I could do this because it's so beautiful. Like these covers and
Yeah,
this like art that you develop with your illustrator. I mean, it's like unbelievable. But
yeah,
yes, I
yeah,
agree.
yeah. But because I've always loved history, I've loved history from the time I was in junior high school, studying American history and geography, and all of that. And so, because I have loved, the history all of my life, it really is why I decided to go into this writing as a historical author, because it really does fulfill something inside of me to do all this research and to just get to understand that world that we came from, because all of us came from somewhere, and to understand the world as it was, and how things have unfolded over time.
Oh yeah, it definitely, and it's like a different the different setting. It's almost like a different character in the book because it's so neat though to hear some of the neat things. Did you find that there was something that surprised you, or something that you were like thought maybe was one way, but then you discovered it through the research that it was different than you thought?
Um, Not so much that. There's actually an interesting law that came about in 1872 called it was the National Mining Law Act. And because of that law, there were certain aspects of that law that created some difficulty. So this National Mining Law of 1872 had several stipulations in it. One of those was called the Apex Law, or the Extralateral Rights Law, which said that if an owner of a property had a silver vein, it could have been gold too, but in my book it's mostly silver. If a silver vein started at in your property, but it continued down into the next door property, the at whoever owned the vein at its apex would own it even if it went into the next door neighbor's property.
Oh,
And that law still exists today, and it is
wow.
the cause of many disputes between mine owners. And even today, the mining community, many people say it's an outdated law and needs to be rethought. So yeah, that particular law ended up being part of the story as well as A Song of Deliverance unfolded.
Yeah, that sounds really interesting. I can see why it would be disputes. And like disputes too, I feel like back then were like real serious disputes where people were going to try to handle things on their own, like with some pretty crazy ways, I would imagine.
Yes.
Especially with mines. It's so weird. I didn't realize that mining was so big in Colorado, that really like kind of brought a lot of industry there. I know my grandfather was a coal miner, and I live right outside of Pittsburgh. Yeah, I didn't realize Colorado was like that. That's pretty neat. So why don't you talk a little bit about your, like, what did your faith journey look like with this book? Was there a particular verse? I like to usually ask authors this because I feel like it's so inspiring. It's encouraging too, to see. Was there a verse that you kind of tied to this book, or even to just your journey, like your writing journey through this, that came out to, that ended up writing Song of Deliverance?
Right. So back in the beginning of 2024, as I was editing the book for Scrivenings Press, I had a shoulder replacement,
Mm,
and it was seeming to go very well in the beginning until it wasn't. And a stress fracture happened
mm.
in the shoulder. And so what was supposed to be an easy surgery turned out to not be so easy. And I started to, it's because you think that this is never going to end. And so eventually, what I came through actually somebody else who gave me this verse. Um, and it's actually the part of the dedication page as well to the book. So the dedication page says, "To anyone who has faced unexpected tragedy and found the courage to trust God, even in the most profoundly difficult circumstances." And then here is the verse: "May the God of hope fill you with all joy and peace in believing, so that by the power of the Holy Spirit you may abound in hope." And in reality, that is Anna's journey as well. She came from poverty. She had this hope that when she got to Colorado, that she would have some measure of prosperity. And then the mining accident occurs, and her uncle dies, and she is left destitute and on her own. and she has to find the faith and the courage to move forward and to establish a life for herself in Colorado. And so this is where she has to realize that it is God who's going to provide that hope, and who is going to bring peace even in the difficult circumstances. And then, from there, she is able to not only be encouraged to continue moving forward, but she becomes a vital part of the recovery that this community has in the midst
Hmm.
of this terrible tragedy. And so she becomes even the inspiration for some of the members of the community because of the way in which she's been able to recover on her own and um, make, as the Bible verse says, right, that all things work together to those who love God and are called according to his purpose, right?
Yes.
And that is really how those things are unfolding in the book. We find out that there is a purpose behind this terrible tragedy, and it results in a lot of people learning how God has been able to turn tragedy into something good.
Oh, that's beautiful. That's just beautiful. What a wonderful verse. And I love that you read the dedication to the readers. So that's like going right. So the listeners right now can hear this beautiful dedication, and it's just such a wonderful, hope filled message that I feel like we just need. We just need so much of it because everybody fights a battle that you know nothing about. And I know it's a very like you can hear a lot of people say that, but we forget in daily life. We forget whenever we're trying to all just make it and we're trying all to stay positive ourselves and dealing with different adversities. And thank you so much too for sharing your heart about, your surgery. I mean, the surgery alone is enough, and then especially having a stress fracture. I'm going to go there and talk about all that because I'm a nurse and a nurse turned writer. But just all of that is so difficult to navigate. You start to also lose a lot of trust in your body, and then it really messes with your mind. So
Yeah.
it's very tough. So I love that you really kind of focus the message of this book on such a hopeful message. I feel like your readers will really appreciate that too. It's beautiful. It sounds wonderful, and Anna sounds wonderful. I think it definitely sounds like she has some things to overcome for sure. um, I can't wait to hear how this derelict, or to read how this derelict slash rich mine owner steals her heart. I think that that's just beautiful. Well, we're almost at time, Donna. Why don't you let our listeners know a little bit of where they can where's the best place to get a copy of the book, and where's the best place they can connect with you?
Yeah. It is available on Amazon.com. You can go to A Song of Deliverance by Donna Wichelman. Um, and you can also get it through other retailers like Barnes and Noble. It's available there as well. Um, you can also go to my website at www.donnawickelman.com and go to the books page, and there will be a link there that you can also click on, and it will take you directly to the Amazon page.
Wonderful. And I will definitely have those links in the show notes as well. So whoever is listening, just go, whatever app you are on, just scroll and you should be able to hit those links and go get the book right now. So thank you so much, Donna, for being here. I appreciate you just telling us your story, telling us more about you, and just writing this beautiful story. Thank you. And just thank you for the work that you're doing.
Well, and I thank you too for allowing me to be here and tell people a little bit more about the book. And I thank you too for this wonderful conversation. It's been fun.
If you enjoyed today's episode, please be sure to hit subscribe and tap the bell so you never miss a new release. We love blessing our listeners with exclusive author chats and, of course, amazing books. Each month, we host a themed book giveaway where you can win a bundle of Christian romance novels and a few fun extras too. This month's theme is one that's especially close to my heart: contemporary love. We're giving away 6 heartfelt stories that reflect the beauty of real life romance. From second chances and small town charm to grumpy sunshine pairs and creative careers, these books deliver all the feels, and I'm so excited to share them with you. Whether you're listening right when the episode drops or tuning in later, you can always find the latest giveaway at christianromancepodcast.com. Thanks so much for listening, and until next time, keep your faith, share the love, and happy reading.